So while I wait for some brake parts to show up, I'll get back into some other little jobs. I've installed a couple of mirrors. I think these are Honda mirrors. So just off the brake mount on there, and then a little additional clamp on this side. So they'll pass the inspection at least. Dug a battery strap off this parts bike and ordered a front brake switch, and then made up a little bit of a loom to go from the front brake into the loom. Put the rear brake switch on and see what other little jobs we come up with. Cool, so let's thread that in. You've got your sort of locking nut there that just goes through the top, and then when you screw your switch in, that gives you some adjustability in the height, so your spring can be adjusted. So just use a generic brake switch, just a couple of dollars, then just make up a 2-wire switch. It's just on off, so basic. So that was going to our orange and our black and white cable, was it? Well, no, that was our, must be orange and white and black, I think that was. What are you doing, Lola? That's fine. Go. Go. Go away. Cool, so that looks like it's plugged in. So next I just got this kill switch I pulled out of the box of parts. This is just like a momentary on one, so you have to hold it down till the black dies. So it's not really ideal for what I would rather have just a switch. There was one in there, but I don't know, it looks like it's been sat in the sun for 20 years. So I'm just going to install this one as a temporary measure. So this is just a just plugs in to these remaining plugs here. I'll have to change one of these plugs to a male end. It looks like our yellow and black and our black and white are the remaining plugs in there. So, and then this end just attaches with a zip tie sort of setup. It looks something like that. So that's our last little bit of wiring there, apart from the wires that will need to go from that rear brake plug to the brake light, tail light setup. So I can put all that front back on. But what I was going to do is I've taken the dashboard, I guess you'd call it, off there. I was going to open it up and change one of the lenses, put a lens in and add some more lights, but it looks like you have to just about destroy it to get into it. So I'm going to make something else up using the later model DR dash light setup, just copying the original one from this bike. This one's just got the indicator light. The later DR's got the indicator light, the neutral light and the high beam light. So I'll need to splice into the high beam to light that one up, and I'll need to take the neutral switch out of that engine, put it in this engine, it should be alright. It's just got a blanking plug, and I'll take the wiring out of that bike and run it up. So it should just about, I should be able to figure out something to plug in quite easy. So this is the dash loom from the 2007 DR. So I'm just going to chase these wires back. Some will go to the headlight switch somewhere, some will go to the indicators somewhere, and then the other one will go to the neutral safety switch somewhere. So a little bit of searching through the loom and we'll get it all separated out. So our neutral switch is down here. Of course it's totally caked with grime. But there should just be two Phillips head screws to take it out. You'll also have to take out this stator cover, which will mean there's a wet stator, so there'll be oil behind there, so you have to drain the oil out, which is fine. We'll do that. Because this being an old farm bike, it's coated in shit. This engine was running, sort of. The oil's pretty black, but it doesn't look too bad. It smells like there's fuel in it though. Which would make sense. because the carb was leaking. So we just take the stator cover off, which we get access to the switch. With these later model farm DRs comes a oil cooler, engine guards, electric and kickstart, which is something unusual for the New Zealand market. It should have two side stands so you can park it on either side of a hill when you're going up and down it. I think that's about it for the things these have. Front and rear racks normally. This one's had a few parts taken off it before I got it. Apparently someone had been on this side before, so maybe I don't know if it was the starter not working or maybe it wasn't charging, which is why this bike got scrapped. But it's got plenty of good parts for me. I'd be able to get this engine going reasonably well, I think. I've got another couple of spare engines there. Enough to get at least one. There's not too much that can go wrong with these. Normally the top end suffers when they run low on oil, because the camshaft just runs straight in the head. There's no separate bearings there, it just has the followers machined into the head. I was looking up how you might fix that without replacing the head, and it looks like you can machine the two surfaces down and then ream the cam follower out, and you should be able to get it reasonably in line, and then run your hand reamer through there and get it back into spec. So I'm going to try that with a head I've got over in that pile. See if I can get that DR200 engine going again. That doesn't look too bad in there. Maybe it was just a problem with the starter motor that I had. But there is, there might be some resin that's come off the stator. Should check that stator. It might be shorted out. want to make sure you take the little seal that comes out of the O-ring. So there was just a little metal cover on there that hides the gubbins. We'll see if this switch still works. It looks like it might be pretty nasty, but it's just got a little spring loaded sort of ball bearing thing there, and as you change gear that moves around and then makes contact on that piece of copper there when it's in neutral. You just want to take your spring and your little and the presser there, just put it in the hole in this engine, and we can put the switch on top. And you need to take your longer screw and the cover from the other bike. So we'll just try that out. It looks good. Should be a neutral there, first, neutral, second, third. So this is the original, I guess you call it a dashboard or instrument cluster. It's been broken and glued and it's a bit missing. The inside's pretty beaten up. I was originally just going to make a spare or make a new this sort of section and hold the other parts that I'm using, but I've managed to find another one of these in better condition So I'm going to cut this one up and mount all the new instruments inside. I was originally going to try and open this up and change these lenses to be ones that would work, because you can't see through these two ones. They're just blacked off, but it looks like it's moulded into one piece somehow. I think it's maybe they melt these little pins to get it to stick, but even then it's actually underneath this plastic piece, so it might just be moulded together. Don't know. So I'm just going to cut this out. It's damaged. I might try and save these lenses if I can in this front piece, because the later DR instrument panel looks to be almost exactly the same size as that, so it should just fit right in. And then I'll use some resin or something to repair this, sand it down, try and make it look original, and it should just bolt in. So here's where we ended up for the ignition instrument panel. I ended up just filing the panel out just past a slightly raised section to fit the later model DR200 lights. So that's just a press fit, just sits in there. In order to mount it to the bracket that's on the 85 DR, I'm going to fill this area with some JB weld, and then just self-tapping screws is how it would have been mounted anyway, so we'll do that. I'll also see it's been repaired, sort of some glue there, so I'm going to put some tape in here and fill that area in as well. And then I'll probably have to respray it black or do something to blend it in, but it should look pretty presentable on the bike. You don't see this side anyway. I'll just give that area there a light sand and it should come up good. I'm just using some electrical tape to mask it off. I'll fill this area up, and then I'll do this part second when I can place it on its side. So that's pressed in there. The height there looks about even. So we'll mix up the JB weld and pour it in. So working through the list on the DR, getting to the number plate end. Haven't been able to find a original mount. You can get the lenses quite easily, but getting the mount for the tail light is proving a bit difficult, so I'm just going to make one up. I just bought this sort of generic tail light thing. I was out on clearance, so $10. I don't need this plastic bit, so I can just take the lens out. It's E-marked, so it should go through alright. The only problem is it doesn't have a number plate light, so I have to have a separate one. I'm not a big fan of a modern looking clear light, but cheap enough. And it just happens to be the right size to fit on the end there. We'll do that today. There's a bit of the old number plate mount on the back there, so I'll need to make something a bit bigger up to hold a number plate light and a reflector and a number plate. So we'll work start on that. I'll just probably make this out of some 1mm steel. I've got plenty of panel steel left over from working on cars and stuff, so got heaps of that around. It's just going to be a case of cutting a piece out. There's some bolts there, I'll reuse those maybe, or weld some studs on, make a little L, and then I might cut another piece out to go on the top. And I'll weld all that together. I think will be the best option. Alright, so I got my little bracket made up there, hole for the wires, screw onto the light through there, hole for the wires there to go through the guard, and then some mounting holes. So that came out just on the end there, and then I'll have the number plate light off a bracket on here. So really getting along on the DR200 now. So the hand guards, the shields are all done. I just heat molded them, make them flat against the guards themselves so they look a bit better, won't catch on stuff. All the indicators are done, they're wired up and working. The brake lights are all done and working. The tail light number plate lamp bracket, I made that. The dashboard indicator lights, they're all stuck in there and mounted, so it's nice and solid and they all work. So we're pretty much done in terms of lighting. Possibly the headlamp, I'll have to see what the beam is like on that at night. It looks alright in the shed, but it's just a plastic lens. The other one I've got on the other bike has had a hot halogen bulb or something in it and melted the lens, so it's a bit of a problem because you can't get them anymore. But let's have a look at the lights. So ignition on, neutral light works, indicators are working there, indicator working, flashing. Can turn our headlight on, headlight comes on, high beam, see that turn to high beam there. There's a light in the speedo, it's not very good, but it's as good as it was new. See, our horn probably still works. Can come and have a look at our tail light. So number plate lamp. This is not the number plate for the bike, that's just one for spacing. So reflector on there. So there's a number plate lamp, there's our tail light. We'll have a look at the brake lights. So that's the indicators working on the back. Tail light number plate goes on and off with the headlight. Brake light's nice and bright. And off the foot. And then off with the key. So our final things to do on this bike is swap the swing arms over. I'm part way through doing the bearings and stuff on that other swing arm. Just waiting on some new parts to show up. And the output shaft, that needs a new seal and an O-ring, so those are coming. There should be all the oil leaks, I think, will be sorted with that. And then, yeah, once that swing arm's swapped over, it'll be ready to go in for its re-registration. So we're almost there.